Welcome to another exciting episode of the Obsessively Outspoken Podcast. My name is Remington, and today I am joined by a very special guest, Kayla King Scott. Kayla, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining me today. So let's get started. Were you born and raised in Pittsburgh?
No. Okay. I'm a Philly girl.
What was it like growing up in Philly? I'm from New York, and what I know about Philly are the cheesecakes are amazing. It's the birthplace of neo soul. You know, have some really, well, according to me, some really great rappers: Beanie Siegel, Black Thought, Eve.
Yes.
And it's a city of brotherly love. Speak to that.
I love my city. So everybody that knows me knows that I'm a Philly girl. They get tired of hearing it. I don't care because it is what it is. I can't help where I was born and raised. But for me, I'm also not going to forget where I was raised at. So I let y'all all know, North Philly all the way. I love my city. So cheesesteaks are the best. Max's. It definitely has love there. Philly can be a little bit segregated also though. So, you know, I know for me, I grew up in North Philly. So that's where typically the Black people are. You have kind of like the Italian section, you know, where the higher class Black people are also. And then you see a little bit of more of the melting pot whenever you go to places like downtown and going to diverse schools. So for me, I went to the Philadelphia High School for Girls, one of the top schools in the city, and is very diverse in that sense. So we've had days such as like Indo-Pac Day. We had Asian Day. So I appreciate that aspect of it. But I definitely love my city. Definitely love Go Eagles. So gotta slide that in. But it's been interesting growing up in Philly. I haven't been there for a few years now, but it's always home, and it's always home in my heart.
Okay. What brought you to Pittsburgh?
I got a full scholarship to go to IUP, Indiana, University of Pennsylvania. So I went to school there, and then Pittsburgh was the next closest major city. So I moved to Pittsburgh with it being the next closest major city.
And what was that experience like?
So it was definitely a culture shock.
Okay.
You know, going from Philly and going to IUP, honestly, I've never been around just so many white people. And it's a country town, it's a rural area. So that was definitely a culture shock. Rural Indiana, Pennsylvania compared to Philadelphia. So it hit me hard when I first moved there. It was the first time like I realized, and it's going to sound really weird, but it's the first time like I realized myself as a Black woman and kind of realizing racism, because I didn't really see it often in Philadelphia. At least I was kind of blind to it in a sense in Philadelphia. And keep in mind, this was me at a younger age too. So luckily for me, my mom was also very protective. But when I moved to Indiana, it was there. As far as my college experience in general, I love college. College is definitely a time for you to get to know yourself and learn your family, learn your people. I was an on-air personality in college, so I had my own show, yes, on the Friday Night Jump Off, also known as The Underground.
Wow. How long did you do that for?
For about 2 to 3 years, and I was one of the youngest producers there.
Wow.
So I enjoyed it. Definitely a lot of people say they'll hear my radio background sometimes. So I definitely enjoyed it, and I've met some amazing friends that are still my friends today.
One of the issues that I bumped into when I first moved to Pittsburgh in 2010 was no one really leaves Pittsburgh if you're born and raised here. So there is people who have strong circles of friends. And for me, as a transplant, it was kind of difficult trying to nudge into that circle of friends. Now, I made lots of friends and I know lots of people, but it was still a challenge. Was that a challenge for you as well, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
That was definitely a challenge for me. Sometimes I can say that it can still be a challenge sometimes. Because with Pittsburgh is an interesting city. It can be a beautiful city, but it's interesting in the things that you don't really know Pittsburgh until you find somebody that knows Pittsburgh, know where places are. It's not like Philly where you can just say, oh, I just want to go to this restaurant. Let me just walk on in. I know for me, I have a restaurant in Lawrenceville, and outside it looks like a warehouse. I would never have gone in there. And inside is gorgeous. And in that sense, it's not like Philly. So you have to meet people to show you where things are. And sometimes those people, they aren't necessarily willing to let you into their friend group. You have to find where they are. So that's been interesting. I definitely say, though, that there are organizations around here that has been extremely helpful for me being able to meet new people.
Give me one or two things you think Pittsburgh needs to take it over the hump. Because I agree with you. It's like America's, well, when I first moved here, they called it America's best kept secret because of the universities, the hospitals, Hollywood was filming lots of movies here. So it's up and coming. Google is here. So what are some other things you think can like kind of put it on the map? Because it's kind of falling behind in terms of diversity.
In terms of diversity, Pittsburgh needs safe spaces. Where can people of color go to feel safe? Where can they go to talk about how they feel? And typically when we say people of color, we automatically assume Black people, but in all reality, okay, even consider how many places do you know of where Black people can go to? Where is the Black middle class? I like to think that it's Penn Hills, but is it really? So, but even considering, okay, I don't really see too many Asians here in Pittsburgh outside of whenever you walk down the college campus.
Right.
I don't really see too many Latinos here. So as far as diversity, it's not here. We don't have those places to go to just hang out, feel comfortable, be safe.
You talked about going to school, and I went to school, and I feel I could have done without it. I met a lot of great people, close friends that I'm still friends with today.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think education did as much for me as I could have done for myself. Meaning, if I didn't go, I think I would be further and still be the same person I am today. I would eventually come to that place. Mm-hmm. Now, I say that because I don't believe education is for everyone. I don't believe that we live in a one-size-fits-all society. So I'm glad that it worked for you and you had a really great experience. For me, I struggled a lot because my attention span is not there, and I just like to go. I just want that classroom setting is like I'd rather slide down a razor blade slide into a pool of alcohol
That hurts.
If I had the chance to travel at that age, um, 19, 20, 21, the world, and delve into different cultures and in all aspects and really work on my craft, my true gifts and passion, I would have taken that. If I could do it all over again, I would have taken that. Now, tell me a little bit more about your views on education. Do you feel like we all live in a one-size-fits-all, or we don't, and it's good to venture out?
Education is necessary. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a college education, but you need to make sure to educate yourself, no matter what you want to do. If you want to go become a business owner, then okay, let's figure out how we're going to be a business owner. Are we going to interview other business owners? Are you going to do your research? How are you going to be that business owner? You want to be a fashion designer? Then okay, you need to learn how to sell. You need to educate yourself. And it's funny because it's even something that I've told my little brother. My little brother hasn't been to college, but he wanted to be a director. Okay, do you know the film industry? What kind of video camera do you need? What do you need to do to get there? So I'm definitely a big component. Educate yourself, no matter what you want to do. I'm not going to push college on everyone because I don't believe it's meant for everyone. But I do feel like college is a time where you get to learn more of yourself and it helps to guide you along the way. And you may not realize that it's guiding you at that moment, but it's guiding you, it's giving you an idea of what you need to do, put more research into.
Right.
How do you go about this? So even when I mentioned talking to business owners, if you interview a business owner, sometimes you just think of the surface level of running a business, but you don't know. I know right now I have my friend that's telling me about business insurance. And oh, you need to know the exact insurance that you want. I didn't know anything about no business insurance. So you got to consider, sometimes it's hard in that sense of you don't really know what you don't know until you start diving a little bit deeper into it.
I think my issue is just institutions on a whole. And, I would say, burn it down and then build it back up, because you can't tell me that I'm going to make it in this world by going to an institution for 4, 5, 6 years, coming out with $100,000 worth of debt and making a job paying me $15 an hour. Now, I know that's not everyone. Not everybody makes a low salary, but there are more people either not working in the field that they went to school for or not making the money enough to live and also pay off that debt. Mm-hmm. So something needs to change there. I'm not so adverse to school, but the school system, in terms of what you teach, how you teach it, needs to be revamped.
So what I'll say is, so for me, people talk about college and you get this piece of paper. And for me, my piece of paper is the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into it. One of the things that I was even talking about with a friend is the professionalism, in a sense that like I've put into writing a paper that she said that she didn't do. I do think college is definitely for certain people. College isn't for everybody though, and that's okay. But what we need to consider though is, okay, we can't down somebody that wants to be a plumber, that wants to be an electrician, that wants to be a mechanic, because guess what? For me, hey, I don't know how to do my car. I don't know nothing about cars. So, as soon as something happens to my car, I'm calling up my salesman. Hey, this is wrong. What you gonna do about it? Right. Because those people are needed. As soon as your toilet gets stopped up, what are you gonna take care of it, or are you calling up that plumber?
Well, that's something that is not talked about enough, because when you go to school and you get a degree, not everyone, but a lot of people look at those workers you talked about as less than.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we put a little bit too much stock into education because it feeds ego. When you look at a mailman or a plumber, they might not have gone to school for 4 years, but they're still, you're not better than them because you have a college degree. But that's how some people act. And
Michelle Obama just came out with her Netflix show. It's the documentary Becoming, based off of her book. And one of the things that she said was she sat at tables with some of the top people and, you know, worldwide, and some of them are not as smart as they try to make them seem to be. So, you know, education does not make you smart and better than other people. But systematically, I do, like I said, I do think it needs to not be, other people shouldn't be pushed down. At the end of the day, we're all human.
I think in this country, if you go to school and get a degree, that's a plus for you. If you get married, that's a plus versus being single. If you have a kid or children, that's a plus for you for rather than not having any kids at all. If you are a Christian versus an atheist, I think society has told these lies, and it's just not true. You're a great person, not because of the paper that you received or whether you got married or not. There are nice single people out there. I just think there is this agenda that's being pushed out there to us where we feel pressured to have to attain certain things. A plumber should be just as respected and revered as a lawyer. But unfortunately, the country that we live in, the two are not the same at all. And I would like that to change a little bit.
I would love to see that change also.
Give me an overview of your 9 to 5 job. What do you do at your job?
9 to 5, I actually work in education. So 9 to 5, I do work at a school, and I do help people to go to school online.
Okay. And outside of the 9 to 5?
Outside of 9 to 5, I try to be Superwoman. So,
okay. Well, tell me some of your superpowers and how you put it to good use.
Typically, I sit on a few different boards. So I do work with the Urban League Young Professionals. I have worked with the Urban League Young Professionals. I work with the Ash Academy, which is a nonprofit looking to give back to youth that is in Southern California. I sit on the board for the Alumni Association of the Philadelphia High School for Girls, and I'm also a part of the Junior League of Pittsburgh here in the city.
Now, when it comes to the most challenging and the most gratifying aspect of that job?
The most gratifying aspect is whenever I talk to people and they want to go to school and I'm here to help them out. So one of the things that I consider, and I think this might be why some people do have issues with college that has gone to college, is that we get thrown into college and we don't necessarily get the help. We just get thrown into it. So it's like they take us from different areas across the country. So, you know, I came from North Philadelphia. You might have somebody that came from Oakmont and somebody else that came from Fox Chapel. And we just going to throw them all in one place and, you know, it's sink or swim. So I like that for my job, I get to help people. I get to walk them along the way. I get to tell them what they can expect with college. And hey, if you have any concerns, then I'm here, or this is why we're doing this. This is what financial aid is made for. This is why this is happening. Some of the challenges is, I think sometimes we say we want to do something because it sounds good. I don't want to be a person to convince somebody to do something that they said that they want to do. I want to be here to be your cheerleader and help you with what you actually do want to do.
What are some, working with the Urban League, what are some of the gratifying aspects of that job?
To be in the community. So being on the ground in a sense. So, we tend to talk about the bigger politicians and in Congress and whatnot, but we don't consider, no, there's people right here that's in the community, that's serving the community. Whether it's something like being at the food bank and giving out food, or, trying to figure out how to make that change locally. Seeing that implemented is so gratifying.
What was a moment in your life when you knew that you had that in you, working with your community and making it a better place and doing the things using your superpowers? Do you remember the moment when you said, I want to do this, whether I work a 9 to 5 or not, this is my passion. I'm passionate about this. When did that come about?
So I think it happened relatively recently. And I definitely appreciate I have a friend, and she is the volunteering queen, volunteers every month. So I will say that I was not necessarily that person until, she became my friend. And we went to volunteer at the food bank. And there was a lot of Black people there. There was a lot of people of color. There's a lot of white people there too, that needed food, but there was a lot of Black people there, and there was a lot of white volunteers. And for me, it was powerful being a Black woman that wanted to volunteer. And a gentleman looked me in my eye and he said, "Thank you." He said, "Thank you for being here." And there was a connection there. And part of the connection is, no, I'm not a white woman that's not in this community that's coming down like, oh, let me go help out the poor Black people. It's like, no, I'm a Black woman also. I'm a Black person also. And I want to be able to be here and not just talk about it. Like, it's like, no, I'm on the front lines here. And I think that it's funny whenever someone says that silence speaks a lot. And for me, that was a moment of gratitude and silence between us that just spoke volumes.
Now, when it comes to women empowerment, tell me a little bit about that. What drew you to that? What got you on that journey of Black woman empowerment?
Black women in business is number one. So Black women in education is number one. And while people might not want to admit it, the statistics show it. So all you got to do is, do just a little bit of research in that sense. As far as women empowerment, I'm still new in this sector, so I'll definitely be honest in that sense. But at this point, I've considered, what did I wish that I have? What is what I would have wanted, and what is something that could have helped me grow? Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to be able to give back to other women and other girls. So I think sometimes we grow up not having a voice, being shut down. We're told to be quiet, be in the background. And it's like, no, say how you feel. I know my mom used to always tell me it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
So, but I think sometimes us as women, we don't want to admit when something's a problem. We don't really talk about it. It's like we don't want to hurt other people's feelings. And it's like, no, but this needs to be said. Our mental health matters also. Considering building confidence. Our confidence matters. I feel like women, we pour so much into other people and we don't worry about ourselves. And in all reality, how can I pour into you if I'm not good myself?
That's right.
So I want all women to be able to know you can be confident, you can run the world, you can have your family. There's not one type of woman, and you can be okay with that.
Now, how do you go about creating a safe space in the pockets here in Pittsburgh or in society? I never hear anyone talk about that. Like on my job, which I no longer work at, as a Black person, I didn't feel like I could bring up certain issues. I used to do it all the time because I really didn't care. But I did it knowing that there's a good possibility I could be terminated. And I was willing to take that risk. But how do you do that in corporate America? Or in just society, period, where a Black female or a Black person or homosexual person or immigrant or anyone who feels like they don't have the right to speak up, how do we get that going?
Funny thing is, I feel like when I came to Pittsburgh, the blinders was taken off in a sense, where it's like, okay, this is an issue. And it's definitely something that I'm still learning myself. I know for me, I had to find those safe places though.
Right.
So for me, the safe places was the Urban League Young Professionals. And that has opened the door for me to not even just meet people here in Pittsburgh, but when you start going to explore, when you're part of a national organization and you start exploring like other chapters and going to like conferences and whatnot, meeting people from all over the country, building those friendships when you can have those conversations. My friend and I, we were legitly having a conversation earlier this morning about the protests that are going on in Pittsburgh today, and just being able to express, no, this does bother me. No, I need to talk about this. No, I need to say this out loud. And whether you find just another friend or a group, is really best to go outside yourself and not just hold it all in, because then that's going to tear you down on the inside.
Speaking of protesting and everything that's going on, what are your thoughts on everything? Like the situation with Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia. We know George Floyd in Minneapolis. What do you think? I have some really drastic and some even maybe controversial solutions, but I do believe that drastic times call for drastic measures. And as a Black person, I don't feel like we've ever lived a time in this country where we weren't living in drastic times. I feel like we're still living in drastic times because we never did what it took to take drastic measures. And as long as we keep hiding, being silent, and not doing what we have to do for systematic changes in this country, this will continue to happen. So I'm going to give you the floor first, and then I'll piggyback over you.
Me as a Black woman, I just want to hug a Black man. And I laughed at that with my friend, but I was genuine about it, and I was serious in the sense that no, we go through our mess, but Black men go through so much also, and I just want to be able to hug a Black man. And I called my dad, and it just felt good to hear my dad's voice. So I consider that my dad and my family is in Philly. They're protesting today. And my dad is an essential worker. He works for the public. My little brother is in Atlanta. And of course, Atlanta's protesting today. Pittsburgh's protesting today. And I'll admit, for me, I'm just a little bit anxious about it. I'm scared. because I don't want anything to happen to any more Black people in general.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the protesting, I'm borderline, to be honest. I'm borderline right now. And my thoughts on it, they might change, but right now I'm borderline. I want to see the protest. I want to see people doing something about it. I want it to be peaceful, but then sometimes I do want to say no, let's fight back. Like sometimes I don't believe in killing people or anything along those lines, but sometimes I do want to be like, let's get angry.
Right.
But then I'm also looking, and like even in Minnesota right now, where I see people, I see white guys, and they're basically pretending to be protesters, and they're looting, and they're destroying buildings, and trying to make it seem like it's us. And I look at that like the mess.
Right.
But then I also consider, okay, but if we weren't doing it to begin with,
Right.
then they couldn't be able to blame that on us.
Right.
So I consider all aspects of it, and I'm really borderline in the sense of how I want us to handle it, because I want to see the protest. I want us to stand up and not just sit in the houses. I appreciate our allies that are, showing support and not just keeping quiet. I was reading today earlier, Target and Nike has said something. I think they can do more, but the fact that they're acknowledging it, I appreciate that. And I want to fight back, but I don't want to fight back at the same time, because it just gives them the opportunity to, oh, we did this, and it gives them extra excuses
Right.
to press back harder.
Do you think that we can end racism without white allies and just ourselves, or does everyone, all hands, need to be on deck in order?
All hands on deck.
Okay.
I'm strong on that one. All hands on deck. We can't do it with just ourselves.
Okay. Now, Michael Moore, I'm looking at my phone, and Michael Moore is a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, progressive Democrat from Michigan. I used to be a Democrat, but now I have no affiliation with any party, because I can't check the box. Like,
Right.
There's no one party that's for me. I think Republicans are shitty, and I think Democrats are just a little less shittier. And I know this to be true, because if it wasn't, then we wouldn't be talking about what we're talking about today.
Right.
If the Democrats did their job, if the so-called politicians who are here to serve the people, everybody, including me and you, we wouldn't be talking about police brutality if they were doing their job effectively. Mm-hmm. I like Michael Moore. Put it this way. I like him. And he says, in America, only white people are allowed to take a knee. Here's a to-do list. Shut down the Minneapolis Police Department temporarily and replace it with neighborhood safety groups organized by Black Lives Matter. Now, shut down the police department. I am all for it. Mm-hmm. It needs an enema. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear anything else about good cops, while the good cops are sitting back idle, watching the bad cops do things they shouldn't do. So let's not talk about...
There's no such thing. You're basically a bad cop also.
You're complicit.
Yes.
So agree with him, number one. Get in people with good character. Get in people who are affiliated and closely associated, and people of the Black neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. In that conversation when you hire new police officers. Mm-hmm. Agree there. Number two, suspend all white cops until a community racism review board interviews and vets those white cops who want to stay on the force. Love it. I think it's great. People may think, wow, this is extreme. This is controversial. How else are we going to get it done? It's not a few bad apples. It's the whole battle.
I was here with you, but I'm not sure about that part.
Suspend all white cops?
The
Well, really, I'm okay with saying all cops, to be honest with you.
I'm okay with all cops, but then I'm also wondering, okay, so they need to be vetted before they come in. They need to be vetted before they're hired.
That's
But
right.
then I'm also wondering, okay, what is this vetting process? Because people can hide behind, oh, I'm being watched for a month or any like something along those lines. It's the reason why whenever you get hired, they give you typically a 90-day probation.
Now that's a good point, and it's a good start. Like he didn't really delve into the details, but you
I
brought up
need more info on that one to agree with that one.
he goes on to say they must prove they have a college education, which no, education doesn't is not synonymous for good character. And they
Right.
must submit a book report on the last 3 books they've read. No, that's not good enough. So let me tell you where I would go with this. I would do an extensive psychological test.
Okay.
I would do an extensive emotional and I would do I would definitely get references. You will have to go back in your past and currently and tell me what you do outside of your job to help your community.
I'm here for all of that.
Okay. And I'm going to stop there, but you and I could come up with at least 10 more. So This is what I'm saying. This is a good start. How we go about it is going to be key. Number 3, the Minnesota Vikings must hire Colin Kaepernick onto the team. Now, okay.
Y'all being extra trying to slide that in there.
Now, you're
I'm
funny.
here for it, but y'all tried to slide that in there.
Right. Now I'm with Michael Moore on this, but let's be clear. The Minnesota Vikings shouldn't hire Colin Kaepernick because we're going through something that he peacefully took a knee for. Mm-hmm. First things first, the Minnesota Vikings should hire Colin Kaepernick because he's a pretty damn good quarterback, and he is eligible for the position.
Yes.
That's number 1. And then we can talk about everything else that he stood for, or rather took a knee for. And last but not least, number 4, the state of Minnesota must establish some sort of fund or reparations for Black residents, simply as a way of saying, we're sorry you have to live in Minnesota. So I agree with
America, if that's the case.
So good point. This shouldn't just be for Minnesota. It should be for the country. And I guess he's just specifically talking about Minnesota because of the current situation. Mm-hmm. But if we take it in broader terms, you're right, Kayla. Funds and reparations for every Black person, because you're sorry we have to live in a country that never had compassion and care and love and was welcoming to Black people.
Yes.
Yeah. So
George Floyd's family needs money, so set up that fund for his family. Right. If Minnesota wants to do that, but as far as for Black people living in Minnesota, that needs to be for the whole country.
Right. So the only thing you disagree with is the suspending all white cops.
Yes.
I say fire every last person. Every last person, fire them and start the vetting process over. And the vetting process will be some of the things that I've talked about.
So one of the things that I consider with that, though, is, okay, it's one of the things I consider with that is there's more against Black people than there is white people. There's systematic racism, so much that we have to deal with, where there's so much more against us than there is white people. But let's, playing devil's advocate, let's pretend that a Black person came in and they robbed the bank and there was another Black person in the bank that was helping the robber out. Okay, so does that mean that all the Black people in that bank gets fired for the vetting process? That's not cool at all. But we do need a vetting process, though. But we need to consider, who are you bringing in? Like, unless, if you're going to fire all of them and just keep them all fired, maybe, okay. But who are you bringing in? What are you doing as you're bringing these people in to begin with?
And that's why I was saying it has to be extensive. But as for right now, throw the whole thing out. Throw the baby with the bathwater. The whole system is flawed. Throw it out. The whole shit is corrupt.
So get rid of all of them, though.
Clean house. And please, I'm not just talking about the police department. I'm talking about every institution that we have in this country that was created for power, control, and money, and who has been doing things to give certain people a leg up and been keeping people down by all sorts of trickery. Time is up. Time is up. I am talking about politics. Hey, you politician, you've been there for 25 years, you're out. Done. You're just there. You're just a politician that no longer understands why you came into being a politician in the first place. Because now you are just as corrupt as the system you came in claiming to change.
I was saying too, part of that is on us. Part of it. Yeah. Part of it is on us. Part of it's on us. And the reason why, and this is why, on, at least in Pennsylvania, June 2nd is elections, and this is why you need to go vote. So one of the things that I consider too is, okay, so yes, Congress, they have people there that's been there for 30, 40 years that needs to get the mess out. Absolutely agree with you on that one. But I also consider, okay, the people that outside of current 45, which I don't claim him as my president, most of these people have long-term political careers where they started off as a councilman. They started off as a senator. And this is why you need to vote for the smaller elections in order to consider the bigger elections. You can't just go and decide, oh, I'm going to just vote because it's a presidential election. No, you need to vote every year. You need to vote for the school boards. You need to vote for your councilmen, because your councilmen are the ones that are working up the political ladder to be in Congress. Vote for your state representatives. Know who they are. There is, if you don't know who they are, guess what? There's a nice little website called Ballotopia, okay, where it breaks down what they stand for. But this is the reason why you need to vote from the bottom on up. Don't get me wrong, we still need to get rid of them. You're right. But they get in there from the bottom. Get rid of them early. You want to make a change? Then okay, then go ahead and run for your school board. Guess what? Those are elected officials. Go run to be a state representative.
First things first, you're right. On a local level, it's important to vote. I get that. My issue is that the selections, the pool of people that I have to choose from when it's narrowed down, it's worse and it's bad and it's worse. Those are the two options. Yeah. And I don't think at this time that we can afford to vote for even the bad. We definitely can afford to vote for the worst. We know who that is. But the bad is really, really bad considering the state that we're in now.
So are we going to not vote at all?
That's what I'm
that already, and that's how he got into office.
That's what I'm going to do until Joe Biden tells me, don't come knocking on my door when you want to pander. Don't come knocking on my door when you want my vote. I am telling you, Joe Biden, I'm going to hold my vote hostage And here are my demands. And if you don't meet these demands, and don't tell me no, you can't do it because y'all stay up 24 hours passing laws behind people's back, behind closed doors when you want to get shit done. Do you want my vote? You do? Listen up. Here's my demands. All I want right now is action. Because once again, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to vote for you. You're going to get into office, and you're not going to promise me the things or my community that you've done. How do I know this? Because it's been done since time. The very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I'm asking you, Kayla, or I'm asking anybody, how is my vote this November, voting for Joe Biden, going to stop police brutality, poverty, homelessness, poor education in Black communities? Let me tell you, it's not. How do I know that? It didn't with Obama. It didn't with Clinton. It didn't with Kennedy. It doesn't work. We have to take a different approach. We're living in drastic times, and voting is not drastic measures. For radical and revolutionary change, something has to give. Now, maybe not voting is extreme. I'll give you that. But can we agree something different has to be done?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
I definitely agree that something different has to be done.
Okay. So we're on the same page. I'm just extreme with it because I'm so fed up.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I don't like people asking me for things and they know I'm in need of something, and when I come to them, they turn a blind eye and ignore me. I don't think that's fair. There's nothing compassionate about that. And I feel that's what we've been going through because they know they have us in our back pocket. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden just recently went on the Breakfast Club, but before that, he wasn't going on any Black platforms. You want to know why? Because one of his best friends are Black. That doesn't do it for me. I don't care if you and Jill and Barack and Michelle go on ski trips every December. That has nothing to do with the issues that I am dealing with.
Right.
And because he feels arrogant that he can just bypass speaking directly to Black people, and when you do, when you finally get on a Black platform, we're happy for it. And then you say something like, if you vote for Trump, you're not Black?
Funny thing is, something that was mentioned earlier, and I'm like, you know what, I'm here for it, is we can't be inviting everybody to the cookout, okay? So part of that is we wanted to invite everybody to the cookout, and everybody can't get invited to the cookout. So
listen, you can come to the cookout, but you're not coming empty-handed and leaving with 5 to-go boxes. That's not happening. You gotta bring some potato salad. You gotta bring some macaroni and cheese. You gotta bring
potato salad.
I know. You gotta bring something, and I'm more than happy for you to leave with something. But those days of coming empty-handed and taking, not giving, just taking, not giving, taking, not giving. No, I'm over that. I'm over it. So I don't know. You know, Puffy P. Diddy came out and said he will hold his vote hostage if he has to for change, and people really went after him. But I'm on that train. We need to move. We need to ask them to move first, and then we'll move after you. But we've been moving first with no action on your end. I don't think I can afford to be duped that way, nor do I think Black communities can afford to be duped that way. But I understand he's Barack's man. He's a Democrat. The Democrats are for the Blacks. I just don't buy it. I'm not for it.
I just don't want people to not vote at all. That's what I consider. I don't want people to not vote at all. At the end of the day, that is the biggest reason why 45 is in office now. And as much as I love my city, you got to call them out. Philly did not vote. Philly did not show up. Atlanta did not show up. There's so many people that did not show up. And sorry, not sorry, but if you're not going to show up at all, then this is the one time where I'll say that your opinion does not matter. is the one time that, because everybody's opinion, you know, they can have their opinion, but if you don't show up to make a change, then your opinion does not matter. If you didn't do anything to make a change, you can't say anything. You got to deal with those repercussions, because no matter what, something is going to happen. And no matter what, we're going to have to deal with those repercussions.
Right.
But I am a strong component of like starting to make these changes on the lower local level and allowing it to move on up.
Right. Tell me about, so we talked about police brutality and we talked about racism. And we talked a little bit about Black women empowerment. How do you feel about the whole Me Too, Time's Up movement? Where are you with that?
Okay. um, it needs to be spoken about. It's sad in the sense that as women, you may not know if you walk into a room and how many women have been raped, molested. As women, we have to worry about the cat calls and, oh, because I'm not interested in you, then now you're going to attempt to kill me. Because it's dark outside, that I need to hurry up and run in my house. And that's some things that, I'm sorry, but men, you guys don't really know about. So I think the Me Too movement is necessary. It allows the women that have been through something to have a voice. It's actually funny in a sense that us as women, whenever you start talking about things such as Me Too, that's when you realize that the girl that's been your friend for the last 10 years, the last 15 years, the last 20 years have gone through something too. And we don't necessarily have the platform to talk about that because it gets pushed down as far as normal. And it's not. It's not normal at all. You don't talk about the deacon in the church that has done something, the pastors, the family members, because us as women have that shame that this happened as if we caused it. And that's not the case. I do think though that there are some women out there that are taking advantage of the Me Too movement and trying to make it seem like it's for them, and it's not. So I definitely do have an eye out on that. You can tell when something has happened to somebody based on how they talk about it, based on how they go about things. So eventually you can tell, and you can tell whenever somebody's just pulling something out they behind too. So I'm definitely here for the Me Too movement. But I don't think everything needs to be claimed as Me Too.
Earlier, you said you just want to give Black men a hug. And so let me start by giving you an ear hug. Number one. And number two, let's say that I hear you, I stand by you. And as a man, what are three things I could start with to help eradicate or educate when it comes to sexism as it relates to the Time's Up and Me Too movement?
That's a really good one. I would say to listen. And honestly, that's for just about anything that we've talked about today. So even considering racism, white allies listen. So listen to what they have to say. Be patient. So that's definitely a big one, is to listen, be patient, and if you can jump in on the front lines, with sharing, then that would be awesome too. But I definitely would be like, listen to what the women have to say. You know, a lot of them, they have stories that they've been holding on to for years. And it's funny, whenever you can tell that somebody's telling you the same story and that story don't change,
Right.
that's typically the truth. Liars, they stories switch up a little bit if you're paying attention to it. And so you hear this woman's story, and sometimes she just needs somebody to listen. That's the biggest thing that's coming to me right now.
Right.
And let her know that you're there. The same way that, you know, Black men want Black women to support them, a Black woman needs to feel protected. Any woman needs to feel protected.
Sure.
And that they're not being judged. And that is not going to happen again. So you got to let her know that that's the case, and, you know, be patient with her.
Right. Who were some of your heroes growing up, dead or alive, that you admired, and why?
Okay, so don't laugh at me. One of my heroes is Kimora Lee Simmons.
Okay.
Because Kimora Lee Simmons, she was a businesswoman. She screamed femininity. I appreciated her running her business. So it's funny as I think about it, because when she came out with her book, I had to run for it. She had her TV show and I had to run for it. So younger, for me, it was Kimora Lee Simmons. It's definitely Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Definitely. So seeing Michelle Obama, and I actually went to see her in Philadelphia when she was on her book tour. Epitome of my existence right now. Because she was just so real. She was just so down to earth. She spoke my story. South side of Chicago isn't but so different from the north side of North Philly. So, and she gave me moments where I just felt so emotional that I cried, and I couldn't even tell you what I was crying for. So, Kimora Lee Simmons growing up, Michelle Obama now.
Okay. And one more.
One more, Shonda Rhimes.
Okay.
Shonda Rhimes. If you guys don't know her, she owns Shondaland, and she is the one that brought to you guys Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. She has a lot of other shows, Station 19. But this Black woman took over ABC. Like, y'all gotta let that sit. Like, she took over Thursday night on ABC. And she created so many shows that went on for years. Grey's Anatomy is still on season, and starting season 17, and that started from a Black woman. So,
and I guess that goes back to what you were saying earlier about Black women in business. It's here. It's not up and coming. It's here. We just haven't taken notice. You know, you have Ava DuVernay along with Shonda Rhimes.
yes.
You like her too?
Yes, love her.
Yeah, really great storyteller. So, okay. Now, what's next on this journey called life for Kayla King Scott?
That is a work in progress right now. And so, like I mentioned, COVID-19 has definitely given me the time to sit down with myself. So I will tell everybody, take a moment, sit down with yourself, shut off the noise. Right now, I still want to continue making a change with women. I want to do that through the organizations that I'm a part of. Okay. And I want to be one of those Black women business owners that you guys are looking at now. So hopefully by next year, you'll see me with my own business that I could be coming back to promote.
Do you want to list some of the programs that you're affiliated with and the organizations?
Sure. So right now I'm a part of the Urban League Young Professionals. I'm a part of them in Philadelphia. So next Philadelphia, the Urban League Young Professionals, the Junior League of Pittsburgh, the Alumni Association of the Philadelphia High School for Girls. And I do help out with nonprofits. So right now I'm also working with the Ash Academy.
Okay. Are you on social media?
You can definitely check me out on LinkedIn, Kayla King Scott. Instagram will be Ms. K Star MZ _ KSTARR.
Great. Now, Kayla, before we go, what are some of the things you do to kind of get recentered and get balance? I know this COVID-19 has forced a lot of people to sit down, but what are you doing? Do you like meditate? Do you do yoga? Do you read? What are some of the things, at least 3 things you do during this time to help you kind of get back on track?
I'm learning how to be more in the present. So I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with. You know, we kind of wonder the what ifs, which is the future, the whys, which is the past. And I'm trying to center myself a little bit more. So taking a moment to breathe, just taking a second, just pull it in, helps to center yourself. Reading is definitely fundamental. So I love to pick up a good book, and knowing who's in your corner. You don't need to have a ton of friends, but if you have that 1 or 2 good ones that you can just spill your guts out to sometimes, a lot of times they just help to bring you to the present, helps you to get clarity. So that's definitely been my biggest thing. I'm so grateful for the people that's in my corner right now.
Any words of encouragement for young women with aspirations of owning their own business, or, you know, going through some issues that, you know, may not be easy to talk about? Do you have anything to say to them, or just anyone in general? I know the world is in chaos, so.
Meet my cat Giselle. So she wanted to hear about young women too. Take a moment to yourself, write it down. Sometimes writing it down can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Be confident in yourself.
Okay.
Once you start building the confidence in yourself, everything else will start opening doors. So at the end of the day, it'll be about self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that you are taken care of first before you can start going into everything else. And guess what? You can do it because God put them dreams in you for a reason, and that's for you to make it a reality. So let's figure out how to make that a reality.
I've been a mentor with the Big Brother, Big Sister program for, I guess, 8 years now. My little brother was 6 when we were matched back in 2012, and now he is 15. I can't believe it. But one of the things that really took me by surprise is how much he gave me back in return. Are there any surprises or things you didn't see coming when you started to lend your support and help to these different organizations and programs? Something that you did not know before you did it?
I didn't realize how good it would feel. And I know this sounds crazy, but it's like I didn't realize how good it would feel. That time that we were at the food bank, we served over 600 families. And it was just, and it's like we woke up and we were tired. It was about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were tired, and we were sitting in our car like, damn. But at the end of the day, you serve 600 families, and you just, it felt right here, just felt so good. sitting on a board and knowing that you can help other people out. I know one of the things even recently is a young lady came to our board and she has a program in NYU that she wanted to go to, and she couldn't afford to pay for it. So she came to our board for assistance. And it just felt really good knowing that, hey, we talked this through and we were able to give this young lady money to go to this program that could potentially be life-changing. So being able to make those smaller decisions to help out individuals is absolutely amazing.
I think it's contagious. Like when you're around people and you hear people talk about how good it feels, and everything else that comes along with helping others, we need that. Mm-hmm. You talked about COVID-19. I think if there's one thing that it taught me is that we need to be more connected. And when I say more connected, I'm not talking about social media. I'm talking about it feels good to see my neighbor. It feels good to say, right. Hey, how you been? Like I miss that. And I think at some point in time, we have to get back to that. We have to get back to community. For me, my only job here on earth is to love people, be welcoming, be warm, be caring, be compassionate, be concerned, help. Everything else is secondary to me.
And that goes a long way.
Yeah, everything else is secondary to me. If you're not talking about loving people who are different, who are like me, who are from different places, who are different genders, different skin color. If you're not talking about loving people unconditionally, you're not saying anything to me. We have to start there first, and then we can talk about everything else, because everything else to me in life is secondary. And that helps me through my day. That helps guide me through life, because I do lose sight. But I can always come back to it because that's first for me. And I just hope that with this podcast, with talking to you, that when people hear what you had to say about giving back to the community and using your superpowers for good versus evil, because people do that. People use their influence and their finances and their networking for not the best things in life. We know that. But when somebody says, you know what, I want to contribute in the most positive, powerful, profound, productive way I can, that's important. And we need to highlight that, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of positivity out here going on, but there are. And I just want to highlight that. So I highlight you and I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Kayla. And hopefully we can work again soon, or do something and use that radio voice again, or radio acumen or skill set.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Any last words you want to say?
Thank you for inviting me. I was a little bit shocked when you asked me to come, but I had fun and I definitely appreciate it. So we definitely got to do this again.
Well, thank you for everything. It was great talking to you. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.